Hello, and welcome back to your friendly neighborhood college counselor, where we simplify college admissions for you. Now, with the University of California deadlines fast approaching, I'm sure you have a ton of questions about how to get into this prestigious and highly coveted university. But before we get into things, make sure to hit subscribe, like this video, and share it with your friends who might be considering applying to the University of California, as this will be a very helpful resource to navigate the application and admissions process. Applying to the University of California system is independent of the Common Application. Just as the state likes to view itself as an independent entity from the rest of the nation, in many ways, it too has its own separate portal and application process. This is both a good and a bad thing. Good because you can reuse your essays from your Common Application here, and bad because you have to fill out an entire new application. But fret not, your friendly neighborhood college counselor is here to help. So, what is the University of California? Well, the UC comprises 9 campuses, including Berkeley, Los Angeles, San Diego, Santa Barbara, Irvine, Santa Cruz, Merced, Davis, Riverside, and San Francisco, but that's only a graduate school, so not for those of you applying for undergrad. The University of California is a great option, especially for a lot of international students, because you can cast a wide net and cover a range of reaches, targets, and likelies, all with one application. The University of California campuses are also very diverse, which tend to be more comfortable for incoming international students. In addition to that, the top 6 UCs are in the top 50 of colleges in the US. Berkeley, LA, San Diego, Irvine. These are all terrific schools with global reputations across various academic fields. So wherever you get in here, you will be getting a great education. The UCs are test blind for all applicants, which is another reflection of their values of inclusivity and progressivism, as the standardized tests like the SAT have long been criticized for being elitist and giving wealthy students an unfair advantage. The UCs receive some of the most applications of any other university in the world, with UCLA alone receiving over 101,000 applications in a single year. This means that the onus is on you to get creative about differentiating yourself and answering the question, how are you and your experiences and your reflection on those experiences entirely unique? Very important. When you sit down to write any application, you must understand and empathize with your audience inside and out, to be able to speak their language, to appeal to their sensibilities and priorities. So, with that being said, we need to understand the UC system and how it is firmly rooted in California as a state and a culture. So let's do a little history lesson, shall we? What are the origins of California's liberal and progressive views? When the earliest New England colonies were formed by European settlers, they were very traditional and brought a lot of their conservative European values, even in their education system, right? A lot of the universities, like the Ivy Leagues, are pretty traditional in their academic approach and actually have like a stronger religious influence than most. During the 1800s, with the gold rush, a lot of migrants moved towards the west to explore this uncharted and exciting territory. They went all the way through the Midwest, Texas, and landed up in California. Now, California became this rich hub of immigrants, with a lot of Chinese immigrants coming in, or being brought in rather, to build the railways at the time. So you'll see today that there is immense diversity, and as a result, a great deal of inclusiveness and respect for various traditions and cultures. It also has a strong focus on challenging the status quo, of pioneering and breaking out of norms, and simply rejecting the traditional, stuffy, stiff upper lip vibe of New England East Coast. The culture of California is a mirror of the state's history. If UC were a person, it would be casual, laid back, and informal. However, every single campus at the UC has its very own vibe, yet a lot of them share some common values that you must display through your application if you are to fit in. According to UC's own website, where they tell us exactly what they're looking for, they claim that the values most important to them include service, diversity, intellectual curiosity, leadership, talent and ability, and finally, determination and resilience. One of the biggest parts of the UC application are the PIQs, or the Personal Insight Questions. You have 8 questions to choose from, out of which you will respond to 4 in 350 words each. The primary focus of the PIQs is to gauge your candidacy for the University of California system at large. This is your chance to exhibit your appreciation for the values and culture of the overall academic institution, which generally reflect those of the state of California, a generally liberal, progressive, unpretentious, and diverse region, in contrast to its East Coast, Midwest, and Southern counterparts. So let's quickly go through some of the most commonly answered questions and how to tackle each one. Number 1. Describe an example of your leadership experience in which you have positively influenced others, helped resolve disputes, or contributed to group efforts over time. Now, many of you have started your own organizations or perhaps are on student council. Maybe you're the captain of your sports team. You do not necessarily need to have a formal position of leadership. When answering this question, you can simply talk about any initiative in which you seized the helm of an activity, mobilized others, and inspired them toward a common goal. This could range from your interactions in the classroom to your own service initiative. In addition to merely describing your leadership abilities, you must also reflect deeper on the nature of leadership itself, what that word means to you, and what your own unique style is, since every leader is different in their own way. Number 2. Every person has a creative side, and it can be expressed in many ways: problem solving, original and innovative thinking, and artistically, to name a few. Describe how you express your creative side. Now, creativity can take many forms and pervades practically every single discipline. Just because you're not an artist or a painter does not mean you can't answer this question. The focus of this question is on your creative process, how your mind churns out novel ideas. The UCs highly prize innovation and research, so if there's anything you've done in the past to problem solve creatively and think innovatively, you should tell that story. Even starting your own company is extremely creative, and take us through that step-by-step process of how you approached a problem with different lenses and dimensions. If you've written answers to, say, a Stanford or a Brown supplement before, you can adapt some of those essays as they have similar questions. Number 3, what would you say is your greatest talent or skill? How have you developed and demonstrated that talent over time? When you think of talent, you might think of singing or dancing or magic tricks, something you can perform in a talent show. But my advice to you is pick something surprising and unintuitive. A talent could be anything. It could be empathy or skills you've developed over time. Some of my favorite essays are the ones where you actually sucked at something at the beginning, but through your own concerted efforts, worked on improving and mastering that skill. In addition, I want you to think about what constructive impact have you accomplished while applying that skill. Number 4, think about an academic subject that inspires you. Describe how you have furthered this interest inside or outside the classroom. In this question, if you have applied to the UK in the past, you can tailor your UCAS personal statement to demonstrate your academic rigor and get highly technical and intellectual here in this question. The UC has a major focus on interdisciplinary thinking and the liberal arts, informing your interests with diverse perspectives and frameworks. This need not be the specific major that you're applying for or an academic subject that you studied in school. You can write about practically any discipline. I just want you to display the depth in which you have explored this discipline inside and outside the classroom. And make sure to bring that technical specificity. That is sure to differentiate you from the rest. Number 5, what have you done to make your school or community a better place? This question falls squarely into the category of a community service essay. Many of you might have already written a community essay, maybe for Michigan or Washington, but what makes them different from this particular question is here you're being asked about how you have contributed to your community in a tangible, measurable way. How have you made it a better place for everyone? Now, many of you have engaged in community service projects over time and meaningfully delved into your community. So this question is a great place to demonstrate your clear impact. How have your efforts attained key outcomes? You can demonstrate this using qualitative anecdotes and statistics, or some combination of the two. The UC cares deeply about impact and giving back to your community, given that it itself is a public university that focuses greatly on civic engagement. Number 6. Beyond what has been shared in your application, what do you believe makes you a strong candidate for the admissions to the University of California? This question seems super broad and open-ended and falls into the category of what else would you like to share essay. What students often miss when attempting this question is the second part of the question. What do you believe makes you a strong candidate to the UC? This is an institution that has a particular set of needs and expectations from its student body. So in this question, many students tend to adapt their Common App essay for this response if it doesn't fit in any other question. However, while adapting your previous content, you must still address the second part of the question. What skill or values are you highlighting to appeal to the University of California system? You can say that I know that the UCs value diversity, and here is how I align perfectly with the institution and the culture and history of the university and the state. And finally, here are some hot tips with your friendly neighborhood college counselor. Before you start writing your personal insight questions, I want you to put all 8 questions on a document and do some creative strategizing about which essays that you've already written can fit into these different prompts. For example, does your Common App essay highlight a really creative side of you, like your passion for art and dance? Perhaps you can include your essay in the creative side question. Or maybe your Common App talks about how you led your sports team to victory. Then you move on to your UK personal statement and see if it answers the academic subject prompt. You can even split up your different essays and place them in different questions. After that, you need to identify which essays you need to write from scratch and which ones can be tailored from previous content. Tip number 2, make sure you are minimizing overlap and making the most of your real estate that you have. So you are saying the most new information in every single essay and not wasting admissions officers' time. Clearly, they are reading thousands of applications, so you don't want to be repetitive. And instead, take this opportunity to highlight all the various facets of yourself: your love of sports, technology, your relationship with your sister, the work you did to empower women in your community. Tip number 3, each essay does not exist in isolation. They must all flow together to tell a coherent and cohesive story of who you are. While you're limiting overlap, they should all still be written in the same voice and seem like they were written by the same person. Tip number 4, make sure you're tailoring essay content you wrote previously very strategically. Be forewarned. You must never attempt to shoehorn an essay into a prompt that doesn't quite answer the question. Ensure that as you're tailoring previous content, it not only suits the question, but it also captures the specific vibe and values of the UC system. For example, when you're writing your UK personal statement, you'll probably write in a very formal, traditional, academic, almost dry tone, because that's what really works in the UK. However, as you know, the UC being a fun, liberal, exciting, engaging place, will probably want you to write in a tone and vibe that much more matches that community atmosphere. So as you're taking content from your PS, make sure to infuse a little bit of fun, a little bit of personality, maybe some stories and anecdotes that help bring that essay to life for this particular audience. Overall, you want to make sure that you tell a story through each answer and a story across all the answers too. It should have an overarching narrative with a conflict and resolution that highlights the specific quality or growth in question. Focus less on the what of what you're writing and more on the why and what you learned. I encourage you to go deeper, introspect, and identify larger abstract life lessons that you learned through these experiences that you can apply in all areas of your life. And my final note on writing your PIQs for the UCs is that throughout, you need to be subtly humble bragging and foregrounding the impressive traits of intellectual rigor, interdisciplinary thinking, leadership and community orientation, and compassion that such prestigious universities are looking for. Now, I would love to give you an example of a successful UC essay that got into Berkeley for many of the reasons that we discussed earlier. But before we read the essay, of course, we always read the prompt. So, describe an example of your leadership experience in which you have positively influenced others and helped resolve disputes or contributed to group efforts over time. At the stroke of midnight, as India awoke to life and freedom, with suitcases full of memories and pickle jars filled with family jewelry, my great-grandparents abandoned their home in Pakistan and fled across the border to India. The merciless violence they witnessed left deep imprints of fear and anger, which were passed down to me in the form of stories. Even today, I witness escalated tensions between religious communities through mob lynchings and love jihad. Seeing headlines plastered across newspapers and watching heated television debates, I began to ponder whether religions could exist in harmony. To understand the roots of these disagreements, I interacted with scholars of Baha'ism, Zoroastrianism, Jainism, Judaism, Hinduism, Islam, and Christianity. Inspired by these philosophical exchanges, I launched a multimedia platform, Youth for Religious Harmony, and organized a panel discussion to spark conversations between diverse religious leaders. While more orthodox leaders hesitated to engage in such discussions, I persevered through countless rejections and until I came across those who embraced the values of peaceful coexistence and unfettered kindness. The panel prompted thought-provoking insights, including one from Rabbi Ezekiel Isaac Malikar that drew applause. In the circle of life, religions are arcs with different paths, but each path leads to the same center, becoming a good human being. While the panel gave me and others deeper understanding of religious pluralism in India, I also wanted to appreciate its manifestations across the globe. I got an opportunity to do just that by leading a discussion on religious harmony with 60 youth leaders from 27 countries at UNESCO MGIEP's World Youth Conference on Kindness. Leading this discussion revealed to me the diversity within religions, as well as how faiths have come together in different nations to promote social justice. In my endeavor to build bridges between religions, I have realized that it is my duty to translate the principles of the interfaith community to a language that is more appealing to today's youth. And as I move forward, I hope to inculcate within my generation the pluralistic ideals of tolerance, acceptance, and empathy. What I think really worked about this essay and what really resonated with the UC admissions officers is although this was an essay about leadership, she really took the thought to highlight her value for diversity. She actively sought perspectives from diverse religions and sought to find parallel sort of lessons and overlaps that would help promote unity and harmony across her community, which is clearly something that the UC really cares about. In addition to that, you'll notice how she kind of humble bragged and subtly slipped in her accomplishments, her initiative that she led herself. And although it doesn't come off as braggy at all, we learned that she is clearly a proactive leader in her community and someone who is not just okay being a participant or a member. My final thought on this essay is that after reading it, I get a really warm, fuzzy feeling. She connects her grandparents' history as a strong motivation as to why she wanted to do this project in the first place, which gives me a sense of deep authenticity in doing this activity. She clearly was not just doing it for her college application, but she was driven by a deep driving desire to drive a change in her community as a result of the suffering of her ancestors. I also get a strong overtone of compassion, kindness, and understanding for others, an acceptance of those with pluralistic ideals. Naturally, the student comes off as extremely impressive, but also thoughtful and kind, and probably the type of person that I would want on my campus and someone I would want to represent my university and our reputation in the long term. Thank you so much for watching another episode of Your Friendly Neighborhood College Counselor. I hope this was helpful. If you're thinking about applying to the UCs, make sure to apply some of these lessons while crafting your application and your essays. Do be sure to hit subscribe and leave in the comment section below which UC campus seems like the best fit for you.